All right. As we all know, content is key in the tech world, and Oluwaseye will teach us how to craft engaging content that builds your brand and communicates values. Please, let's give a warm welcome to Oluwaseye.
Hi, hello everyone.
Hi,
Good
Oluwaseye. Good afternoon.
good afternoon. How is everyone doing today? Good afternoon. Do I need to share my screen? Do you need to see my face?
Yeah. Whatever suits you, you can share your screen. You can also show your face. Whatever suits you.
Okay. Okay, cool. So let me just say hello and just wave to everyone temporarily because I know the video can cause. So hi everyone. Hello. I know the video can sometimes cause internet issues. So I will be sharing my screen shortly. So let me know you can see my screen. So can everyone see my screen clearly?
Yes, you can.
Okay, cool. Um, all right. So hi everyone. My name is Oluwaseye Adesina. I know it says Adedeko on my my image here on Google Meet, but it's Adesina now. Lovely to be here and to just be here to talk to everyone and just get to share my knowledge. I am a content marketing expert. I currently lead the media and content strategy team at Career Body. um, so today I'll be talking, and I'm not necessarily talking or speaking. I would love to engage the team, and let's just get to talk about creating content for a tech on the audience, right? So engaging humans in tech space, either you are dealing with a B2B or a B2C community. So before I start, I first would love to know how many people here are in like the content industry? So I don't know if people are raising their hands or something. Let me see. Okay, so I can see some people are raising their hands, but I'm trying to see. I don't know what's wrong with my Google Meet. So I see some people raising their hands. So I see Joy, Uti, I see Adeni. Okay, great. So how many Okay, so who here is trying to break into the content marketing industry? So, I'll learn Bello Olamide. Okay, cool. All right, that's interesting to know. Okay, so let's get into it, right? Let's get into it. Let's not take a lot of time. Basically, right, these are some of the things we'll just be briefing through today because it's a whole like topic on its own, and we'll just be walking through tech audiences, breaking misconceptions, and talking about the content life cycle, and then we can take questions from them. So let's start with, again, I love to engage. I don't like talking at people. So first is what would you say, like, okay, um I don't know. Can everyone see my screen?
No, we can't. You are no longer presenting.
I'm
We
no
can't.
longer presenting. Okay. All right. So let me do that now. So 1 second, please. 1 second. 1 second. Okay. Apologies for the. Okay. Yes. I'll present my screen shortly, and then you can tell me if you can see it. Okay. Okay. So can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
Okay, I think it's loading.
Okay,
Can you
I
see
can
now?
see now.
Amazing. So let's start with the first point of conversation is okay, so and you can unmute to talk. What's your understanding of a tech audience? We here wants to just say, okay, this is what I think a tech audience is, and just my overall perspective. Anyone interested in sharing their thoughts? I mean, I'll be happy to take one or two. You can type in the chat box also. So I'll just give 2 minutes for that. Anyone is interested in saying something. Okay. So nobody really has perspective to what a tech audience is, correct? So let's move on then. Let's move on. So basically, if for me, when people start to say stuff like, "Oh, what kind of audience is this? What's a tech audience?" and we start to like stereotype things. I personally believe that a tech audience is like a human audience, right? So that's my first belief. I believe a tech audience is a human audience. And whether you're dealing with B2B or B2C, you're always talking to people with goals, challenges, and emotions. But what just differentiates what would you say tech audiences is that what differentiates them is that these individuals, these humans are leveraging tech, either they're leveraging it for entertainment or leveraging it for inspiration or leveraging it for education. Either ways, it's a problem connected to what a tech tool can solve. Either it's a product, and that's why you begin to see things like, oh, we want a SaaS content writer, service as product, right? We want somebody who is into cryptocurrency, something about Web3. All of these things are just like tech lingo, just saying that, oh, you understand how to speak to the pain points of the people who are using this product to solve their problems, basically. And so, even now, recently I was in a conversation and someone said it that, see, tech is no longer an industry, right? It's now a movement.
Oluwaseye, we can no longer hear you. Okay, I think you're having network issue. Let's just wait a few seconds for her to get back. Hi, Oluwaseye, are you back now? Okay, we'll just wait a few seconds for Oluwaseye to get back on the call. So, while we wait for her, how many of us are currently learning a course on Terra Learning? Can we all hear me? Or we've completed a course in Terra Learning? Thank you, Odwayo. How about the boot camp? Thank you, Joy. I take it that Joy has partaken in the Terra Learning boot camp.
Yes, I have.
Oh, nice. That's really great. Can you probably tell us your experience in the boot camp?
Okay. It was interesting. I got to relate with other people. I got to relate with other bright minds, and there was this collaborative effort throughout the boot camp. So I think one thing I learned was we learned to put our ideas together to achieve a particular goal. So each week we had a particular assignment or a particular assignment we had to submit back. So it was a collaborative effort and it was interesting. So I really enjoyed the bootcamp and I learned a lot.
Well, that's really great to hear. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. Were you able to build your portfolio after the bootcamp or during the bootcamp?
No, I wasn't able to because then I got into another program immediately. So it's soon I'm trying to build my portfolio now.
Oh, all right. So I hope that you'll be able to build your portfolio after this event, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
like I spoke about tools that you can use. So you can also use Notion. You can also use Pages on your Terra Learning Bootcamp. Oh, sorry, the dashboard to build your portfolio.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And to us that we are new to Terra Learning, Terra Learning has two programs. That's the internship and the bootcamp. The internship is for the beginners, right? We have courses for beginners, like Ayodeji, Ini, and Latifa had spoken of. You identify your area, your skill, you identify your niche, right? And once you've been able to identify whatever area you are interested to go into, Terra Learning has courses that you can register and take, and then after the internship, you can proceed into the bootcamp where you would be given hands-on experience, you'll be given projects, you would also collaborate with various people from across different fields. I mean, I did that emphasize on collaboration. Well, when you are learning a tech skill, it's necessary for you to collaborate with others, right? So the bootcamp provides avenue for you to collaborate with different people across different fields, right? You also work on projects that you would use to build your portfolio. Latifa had said that it's necessary for you to what's the word? It's necessary for you to include quality projects that your best work that you worked on, right? So the bootcamp provides avenue for that. So okay, I just saw someone had sent a message on the chat box. All right, okay, so I'll just include the link to Terra Learning website on chat box so you can check it out. And also, I said earlier that the our main project for this event is for us to network, for us to collaborate with each other. It's necessary for us to collaborate with people, right? Okay, I already had said that we should network horizontally. That means you network with people um with your level, with people within your level, people that you're learning the same tech course with, or they are in the same field, right? And it's also necessary for you to network with people above your level. I mean, people that you can also take as mentors, right? And that's why I had told the speakers, or what the speakers had include their informations on the chat box where you can network with them on LinkedIn, you can connect with them and also ask them questions if we have them. Right. So thank you so much. Oluwaseye said she's back on the call. Oluwaseye, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can hear you.
All right.
Apologies, my Wi-Fi went off, and so we had
Oh,
to switch on. Yeah.
we
Okay, so
understand.
I'm back
Welcome.
now. Yeah. Sorry for the breaking transmission. So as I was saying, and I think that's the first thing we need to first establish. For example, when people think of B2B, B2C, because those are like the two variant content types, right? So when people think B2B content, like, okay, business to business content, what they imagine at first is like, okay, maybe a building talking to another building. Like, okay, a shell organization is talking to another organization, and it's not always like that, right? It doesn't always work like that. Please let me know if you can see my screen, or if you're struggling to see my screen at any point in time.
We can see your screen.
But is it blank?
Yes, it's currently blank.
Okay, so let me just reshare, because I can see the same thing is going on. All right, so basically, I'll just keep talking while I reshare. So when people imagine that, okay, you want to talk to a B2B audience, they think of like, oh, business to business, you're talking to like this big entity. Whereas when you want to simplify a B2B business, right? Whether you're a content creator and you're working for a business that provides services for other businesses, right? You want to think about that as someone who is basically talking to the people in that business. So, for example, every business that grows has like a business developer, right? And it's like you're talking to that person, and that person at that point in time is a human being that works in that organization that needs to meet certain KPIs to help that business hit its goals. And if you can get across, if you can sell across to that human being, as opposed to just demystifying, as opposed to just like making it look vague, then you are able to reach that tech audience in that B2B space. And I'll be sharing more samples. Like, so what's your B2B content should definitely look like, should be more about, okay, um people talking to people. Do you understand? People talking to people, and generally what that looks like. Then if you want to talk about like your B2C content, it works the same way. It's a business talking to consumers. And for example, like, I know that there are like variety of B2C contents. For example, I'm trying to think of something like Child Deck. Child Deck is a B2C and a B2B business. Why do I call it that? So Child Deck is a business trying to get other businesses like restaurants or malls to work with them. How are they reaching those people there? They are reaching out to the humans of those business, not to the vagueness of that business entity, to say, okay, you know what, we have this platform where you can sell your product, and people can then reach you faster and order from you faster, and will definitely take delivery services off you. Now, we know that one of the core points or pain points of any business owner is logistics. And if another business is coming to offer that service and say, okay, I will solve your logistics problem, all you have to do is come and sign up on my app, right? That's the B2B side of things. And content is where communication is where that gets done, right? For the B2C side of things, when you want to use Child Deck as an example, for example, it's now telling people, individuals who have needs. Maybe they go to work, or they work from home, they're tired, they can't cook, they need to get things done, they have a party, to let them know that, look, you don't have to go to the market to get things done anymore. At the tip of your fingers right now, you can order whatever you want, your favorite restaurant, your favorite ice cream, and it will get delivered to you at your doorstep. What is the communication right there? They are communicating convenience, right? They're communicating ease of access. They're also communicating generally like that ability for people to have options in one place without having to without having to walk from door to door to get what they want. And that is how you use content to then begin to communicate that. So let's move deeper into things. Now, when you want to, having established all of that, when you want to now say, okay, you want to create a content that resonates with your tech audience, the most important thing I think is always basic is to first, people say research your audience, but me, I call it meditate on your audience. Literally stalk your audience, because research sometimes can be impersonal. When you do research, sometimes maybe you are doing it from this theoretical perspective, right? But meditating on something means that you begin to absorb their information, you begin to almost even start to think like them, act like them. You almost can tell what is going on in their minds. Research oftentimes come in form of like, okay, you just want to hear what they are saying. But how often do we know that as human beings we can be very, how can I put it? They say human beings are not irrational, but they are not also necessarily rational, right? So sometimes people say what they don't mean, right? And so they say this, but they are acting the other way around. But when you meditate on your audience, that means you move from research to a personal level of actually getting to know them, right? And you don't need to know everyone. You just need to know the individual personas that you are trying to target, which will help you now cast your net wide and be able to now create content across those levels. So you want to think about their daily life, you want to think about their emotions. And a lot of times what I see in a lot of content marketing classes is people saying stuff like, oh, when you want to research your audience persona, they draw a guy or they draw a girl. She's 25 years old. She goes to school or she's in university. She has a phone. She lives in Yaba. And those things are great, right? Those things are good. That's like the basics. But when you now want to go into meditation, like, okay, you want to know your audience, like their daily life, what are they thinking about? Then you want to now begin to go into behavioral science. You want to now begin to go into choice architecture. What do they think? And this is like a separate like thing on its own. It's something that you have to learn the act of choice architecture. Choice architecture is something that every content marketing person needs to know. Every social media, anybody in content, you need to understand how your users decide. How do they make their choices? What are they thinking when they are scrolling on social media? Those are the things you need to be thinking of. And that's how you create a wholesome, right, content and business model that speaks to them. Then you now begin to layer it with conflict. Everybody in life has a conflict in their life. In literature, there is no form of content you come across, even when you watch a movie, there is always conflict. The conflict is what makes the content ultimately. If there is no conflict, then there is no content. Everyone on this call has something they are dealing with in their lives. Like if we decide to call how can I put it, like a community or a town hall and tell everybody start saying your problems, I'm sure would have a whole lot to say. Or I don't think there's anyone that doesn't have problems. And so your problems in content marketing will constitute your conflict, right? And every business is selling conflict. If you can simplify it like that, if you look at if you think of most businesses that are failing or struggling, it's either two things. It's either they haven't really gotten accurately the conflict that they are trying to solve, or they were once solving a particular conflict, but the problem has evolved, it has elevated, right? It's just like how businesses evolve. At a point in time, you know, people buy CDs, they want to watch movies, they buy CDs, but now there are streaming platforms. And imagine that a certain producer or a certain business owner who is in the film or marketing industry is not leveling up to that. Now that person is still trying to solve a conflict, but the infrastructure with which the person is trying to solve that conflict is not elevated, is not up to date. So you layer your audience persona with a conflict as it reflects the business that you're trying to market or create content for. Whether it's they are selling clothes, whether it's a recruitment industry, whether they're trying to sell whatever it is, there's always a source of conflict. And some of them have various conflicts. And if you can nail the conflict down, and the conflict is basically their pain or their problem points, then you raise the stakes. There is a certain theory in choice architecture that says that human beings are more motivated by loss than wins. And that is why you would see oftentimes that this giveaway mentality or telling people that, oh, 50% off doesn't really work anymore. And if you're even going to use a game to draw people in, it needs to be a real game, not like a perceived game. So people prefer things like, you would see businesses doing things like, okay, if you buy, you get free delivery. Do you understand? Or if you buy up to 30K, you buy up to this certain amount. For example, Temu's new business model, they just launched their app. And what they are selling, aside just discounts, right, is free delivery. But you have to shop up to a certain extent to get that free delivery. And that little act is getting people to overshop, right? It's just like, okay, I have to buy up to 30K. You know what? Let me just buy 50K since I need this and I need that. And they're going to deliver everything to me free anyways. People are more motivated by loss. So when you build your content like this, right, in structuring your copy, whether you're creating a flyer, in structuring your video content, whether you're creating a reel, in structuring your newsletters, in structuring your blog posts, anything you're trying to create, you are making sure that it is reflecting the audience, your audience's life, their daily emotion. It is layered with conflict. That's a very strong problem or pain point. And then the stakes are raised. Now, a lot of people do not know how to raise stakes excellently. You see things like, okay, if you haven't created content over time that has resonated with your audience in such a way that they believe that you care about them, they believe that you see them, they believe that you get them, and they believe that you actually understand their conflict, then you cannot successfully raise the stakes on them. It's not going to work. And so you see people doing Black Friday and they are not making sales. It's because they have not crafted community, they have not addressed pain points, and they just want to say, oh, I just have how can I say 70% off limited, how can I say, they sell limited slots or limited this available, but they still don't make sales. So this is how it's a simple structure, and I wish we could cover more details here, but this is the simplest way I could bring this across to you in the short time that I have. And if you can take this with you and then begin to do your research, read more about it, you would see that it would be easier for you, whether you're a content creator, a social media manager, writer, whatever, to be able to create content that resonates with your audience, right? So let's move on. So these are like a summary of the key steps for creating any content. The reason I said any content is because tech audience sometimes can now become what kind of audience again? FMCG audience. Your tech audience takes Milo. Your tech audience watches television. Your tech audience goes to Lagos. Your tech audience goes to parties and the club. So your tech audience does not exist in a silo. That tech audience you're trying to reach does not exist in a silo. They exist as human beings, and that's the first thing I said, that they are human, or they're a human audience, right? And so, like I already said, you do your audience research. Who are they? What are their goals? What keeps them up at night? And does your content serve that? Identify their pain points. So from the audience research, you begin to know what their challenges and frustrations are. Then you now begin to create your content models and categories around their pain points, right? And this is deeper, because if you want to now begin to talk about how to create content categories, is another masterclass on its own. But then just simply doing that, right? So you now begin to say, okay, what are the content categories I can create from this? My audience has a problem with logistics, and they have this problem, and this business that I work with solves this problem. How can I create like very interesting, simple content that would reach them? The best way to do this is not to sell your product and say, okay, we do logistics, so come and buy from us. It's more about talking to them and their pain point, that are you struggling with this, right? We will get this to you across in 5 minutes, faster than this, faster than that. They are trying to save time, they are trying to save money. Does your business solve that? And how can your content accurately communicate that? You begin to develop the content models. Are they push notifications if it's an app? Are they newsletters? Are they SMS alerts? Is it that you want to upsell via webinars? Is it that you want to upsell via, you would see a lot of businesses who are able to craft that and own that successfully are the ones who are able to generate the best quality leads and make the most sales. Then when you've done this, you start to track engagement and attribution. So any content that you cannot track engagement, you cannot track attribution, is not content. I mean, you're just probably wasting time and dancing around town, right? So you want to be able to measure your content's impact on business goals. A lot of problems I see with a lot of newbie content people, on LinkedIn, complaining that my boss or my manager or this business owner or client doesn't really see my value. I try so hard to get them to see my value, but they don't see my value. It's not. This is the last point. You need to be able to track anything you are creating, and it cannot measure impact on business goals. Then oftentimes people find it hard to believe that it's valuable to them, right? So let's talk about pain points, because I've been talking about pain points in content. So let's use Grammarly as an example. Their pain point is that, or their problem is that they are busy, struggling to write error-free emails or documents. Think about your day-to-day life at work and think about what you would have done. How would your life have been without Grammarly? Is there anybody here that does not have Grammarly as a content writer, and you're here and you don't have Grammarly installed on your laptop, on your phone? Anybody? Is it possible at all that you actually do not have Grammarly installed? Then I would actually question if you are a real content writer, right? So Grammarly would then do this by upselling their product. Do you understand? Sharing ads, blog posts, writing tips on contextual grammar videos. So when you're on YouTube, you see some of the ads that come across. These are somebody working in the office or a freelancer typing something, and they're able to increase their work rate and workflow because they installed Grammarly. Right? That's content marketing, addressing a pain point to a tech audience, right? You want to bring it home to Nigeria. I don't know if everybody knows Workpay, but I'm using Workpay because I work in a recruitment agency. And you think about small businesses who want to hire in other countries. And think about, like, okay, I just started my business, it's growing, it's a startup. I want to hire from Nigeria, I want to hire from Kenya. But you don't want to start a business in Nigeria, you don't want to start a business in Kenya, because that's going to cost you a lot of startup funds. And so a business like Workpay would now create, like, okay, we can help you handle your payroll and taxes with ease in Kenya without even having to get there. Or they create lead magnets, like, okay, so for people who are still in consideration mode, right, they are still considering, they don't think they want to use Workpay yet, there is a calculator tool embedded on Workpay that helps them to just easily compute salaries and taxes. And so when a company starts using that, number one, you've already added them as a lead, and it gives the sales team, so as a content team, you have given the sales team enough leads to work with, and then they can begin to upsell the content from that point on. So I hope that I'm carrying everyone along. At any point, if I need to stop, please let me know. I'm just trying to move fast so we can get to questions and answers. So in your content, you want to think about your content like vitamins or painkillers. So quick question to everyone on the call. If you are in pain right now and you are really in excruciating pain, what would you take first? Would you take vitamins or would you take painkillers? So anyone, just painkillers. So only Terra Learning is communicating. Any other person wants to talk, I want to hear other people just say something. You don't have to unmute, you can just type. So painkillers, exactly. If you are in pain, you are taking painkillers first. Vitamins, so you want to see your content as a creator as a mix of both. If your content does not have painkillers from time to time, right, you would not be able to generate leads as fast as you need to. Vitamins are great because vitamins are for nurturing your audience. You've brought them on board. Probably it was the painkiller content that brought them on board. Do you understand? It was the painkiller content. E.g., a REM money is trying to say, oh, get a loan of 10 million in 5 seconds, right? And there's a businessman looking for money. And he's like, oh my God, I can get a loan of this. Or someone is in debt or trying to save their child from something, pay their children's school fees. That's a pain point. And something is offering that immediately. You have used your painkiller content to attract your audience. Your vitamins will be what keeps them, what retains them. That's your top of the funnel content, middle of the funnel content, bottom of the funnel content. And this another entire class. Do you understand? So think of your content like that. Like, number one, don't think like you're just talking at people. You're talking to a human being with problems, with needs. Your painkiller brings them in. Your vitamin keeps them, retains them, right? You go to what's it called, the hospital. You have a problem. You have a pain, you have malaria. They are giving you your painkillers. What will solve that malaria immediately? No qualified doctor is going to give you vitamins or tell you to go and take vitamin C for malaria. They want to give you something specific, laser targeted, that is going to solve that problem on time. How does your content do that? As a content manager, you're like the spokesperson of your organization. You are the one who tells the stories. How do you tell those stories in a way that it gets people like, oh my God, this is me. This is me. I can relate to this. This is my problem. And they're like, help me. I want to partake of this. I want to know how to do this. And it takes a lot of radicality to be able to get to that point, right? So I want you to keep this in mind whenever you're creating content. So let's talk about your tech audience, right? So what are their pet peeves? So when I say pet peeves, it's like something that gets on their nerves, right? Like as a tech audience, and I mean tech audience in relation to millennials, Gen Zs, and maybe a bit of the boomers, maybe younger boomers who use a lot of tech, They use a lot of tech, software engineers, content writers, even day-to-day people that go to work. I use a lot of tech on your phone. What gets to them? What is like, oh my God, once they see this in a content, it's like, I'm not interested. Over promising and under delivering. You see, okay, and that's why content and growth and operations and sales, they need to work together a lot, because you will see a situation, right? There was a case study about Money Points, that okay, so when they were starting the Money Point industry, and when they were trying to like launch the app and everything, I don't know if everyone has read that case study. And the salesperson, or let's say the business person slash content person this time, went to tell people that, okay, we're launching this app, or we're launching this POS device that can help you. It's faster. You can easily resolve your payment issues on time. You don't have to go to the bank to get this done. It's so fast, it's so this. And basically, people started coming to the office to come and say, please, you guys said, when is this app going to be ready? When is this thing going to be ready? And they had more demand than what they had capacity to deliver on. There's also this guy, I've forgotten, is it crowd fund or something? It's also like a POS service, right? Crowd force. And they had a lot of customers. So they were selling, right? So content had done the job. They were selling, right? But they had a lot of problems on the back end. And the customer service was not solving this problem. So they had thousands of complaints. And this started to reflect on the content side of things, because people started tweeting about it. That, guys, give us our money. And that's that the reputation of the brand is starting to get affected. So you have to ensure that you are not just standing in a silo. I see a lot of content teams stand in silo. We are content, we are social media. No, you have to be working in tandem with your sales team, in tandem with your business development team, your operational team, to ensure that whatever is being marketed, right, you guys actually have capacity to deliver on it, or you have plans to build that capacity, right? So tech audiences are usually more sold out on practical and relatable solutions. Things that tell me that if I press A, I'm getting to A. Not that if I press A, then when I now get to B, you're now telling me that I have to pay. But when you pushed the ad out, you said it was free. But now I'm on this thing and it's asking me to pay. Or you said that your card can you can use I can use your card to buy things across the world. Now I have funded your card and I want to use it to pay for my Apple what's it called, music, or for my cap cut, and it's telling me that this thing does not work. How do I get my money out? So pet peeves: over promising, under delivering. We content guys, sometimes you are so good at your job, but you have to ensure that the products that you are working on, the person that you are working with, is actually offering practical and relatable solutions. Because after all the shiny, everything is shiny, everything is bright, okay, you've gotten their attention. Are you going to deliver? Are you going to retain? Number two is that people, tech audiences, which is Gen Zs, millennials, and all of us, human audiences right now who are on our phones trying to get about our daily lives, all fluff and no depth. Fluffy content. You see people writing how to creating carousel, how to build a resume, people are no longer doing that. If they want to learn how to do that, they will Google it. You want to begin to create actionable, in-depth content, something that sometimes it can be simple, but it's like, oh my God, I need this. If it's not a painkiller content, you cannot draw them in enough to provide your vitamins for them. Facts, statistics that are in line with your own brand. So as a content person, sometimes the job can be a lot. You may also need to do like a lot of research, to come up with things that show that you are providing detailed and up-to-date insights in your industry regarding the products that you're selling. They don't like generic and irrelevant content, right? So one thing I know that every tech audience loves, this is why you guys are here on this call, a sense of community. A sense of community. And community doesn't necessarily mean a WhatsApp group. I mean, those are the tools that you use to establish community. But community goes beyond that. Community is resonation. Community is loyalty. Community is feeling like these people get me. They know what I want. These people understand me. These people know how to get to me. That is community. Now, the tools which you use to organize community, that's up to you. right? You want to do it physically, you want to do it online, offline, that's up to you, right? But community, concise and human content. You're not talking to robots. If you're going to use ChatGPT to create your content, make it human. I'm not against using ChatGPT, but you also want to think that it's human beings that are reading this thing. I can flag a ChatGPT content from afar. What makes you different from why? How are you going to be able to defend yourself as a content writer or a content marketing person in an organization? If ChatGPT can just help them get the job done, then there's no really any need for them to hire you. So if you are going to use ChatGPT, at least use it in a way that it differentiates you from the normal day-to-day guys that are not natural content writers, but they just tell ChatGPT, write this for me. Ugly and confusing branding and aesthetics. And I brought this last because I feel it's last. Do you understand? Not everybody can design, and but you actually need to know the basics. Like, okay, what does it mean to have? I'm not the best designer, but I designed my slides myself. I'm not the best designer, but I understand that, okay, things don't need to look rowdy. Keep it simple. If you are not a great person at designing, always keep it simple. Me, I'm not great at designing, my white background is my white background, and I just add touch of colors there. So I don't know. We can talk about this. So for you as a person, as an individual here, as you're listening on this call, what is something that you don't like to see with content? They're like, oh my God, once I see this, I'm off. What's that one thing? I'm looking forward to like just hearing your thoughts. Now, these are like thought leadership on content by Inya Boyeji, who says that products that solve African problems need African stories to thrive, right? They don't need American stories to thrive. So you see people writing content and bringing case study from America or from Canada or from the US, you know? And the way the world is going now, there's an oversaturation of content. If your content is not user generated, if it's not real, if it's not human, if it's not talking to them as it speaks to now, like what is going on now, most people are not going to engage, right? So keep that in mind. Number two, this is Anne Adley. I think she's the founder of Marketing for Profs or something. Good content isn't just about storytelling, right? So people just take storytelling and they plaster it on everything. Okay, it's about telling a true story well. So what's your true story? What's the true story of your product, of the product that you're working on, that people can save money and get 20% of interest? That's the true story of your product. How do you tell it well? Because after all, there are thousands of platforms that offer savings. So how do you tell the story of that brand well? Is it true? Number one factor you need to establish is the story true. That means, does the app or the product, will it do what it says it's going to do? Then you as a content person, you take that and say, how do I tell this story well? Rebecca Enochon says that African startups and generally organizations need to tell stories that inspire confidence, not just customer. So like I was talking about audience, target audience, building a target audience, and a lot of, people or courses will just draw somebody and say, this is the audience persona, this is our customer, this is our target audience. No. Ultimately, you are trying to build confidence in people with your products. That if you use my products in this area of your life where you're having this pinpoint, I want to help you build confidence in it. The way Grammarly is helping people who are not great writers or who are not very good with punctuation and spelling, who are too busy to look through it, build confidence in writing emails without spending hours proofreading it. How do you help businesses build confidence with your content? Your content is what tells that story, correct? So thank you. I'm done because I had to move really fast. I'm really done. Are there any questions? I don't know, any feedback or comments here from the team?
Yes, thank you so much, Oluwaseye. In fact, I didn't want it to end because I thoroughly enjoyed it. I wanted it to go on, right? Thank you so much for such an insightful section. So, are there any comments? Are there questions? We can put that in the chat box, or we can raise our hands.
And you can always reach out to me via my email. Here's my Instagram, and this is my name on LinkedIn. So you can always just send me a connection request and I'll be happy to connect with you. If you'd like to really know more at an in-depth level, because I know there's only so much that can be covered in a 1 hour course. Next year, in Q1, I'll be launching a course, and it's just for people who are new or who are already in the content industry, and you just want to get better, right? You want to go from being the basic guy, right, that just writes content, social media stuff. You want to actually know how to just create this content that's it looks so easy for some people, but you still struggle to do it. So I'm launching this, and if you are interested, you can go just click on the link that I've provided. I don't think people can see the link. Just click on it and basically,
Yeah, you can include the link in the chat box so
okay,
that easy.
okay, I will do that. So just click on the link bit.ly the story 95. So let me just type that there.
All right. Oluwaseye, I would like to ask a question. Right. You had spoken about how to build confidence with your content. Now I want to ask for people that are a beginner, right? That probably after they've taken this social media course, right? They are trying to go into the content. They're trying to understand their customers, their audience. How do they do that? Like apart from the normal, oh, this is a customer, she stays at Lagos, she stays in Lagos, blah blah blah. How do they really understand their audience?
Okay, so I think the best way to actually understand the audience is to talk to your audience. So, going as far as actually talking to your audience, especially when they are like in your area. So, if, for example, I've worked with a lot of clients, like from fashion to tech to FMCG and community management, banking, all of those things. I've worked with a lot of clients. And one of the best ways to actually know people, there are three ways that I use. Number one, talk to them. So if you are managing a platform, and I I think I was doing something for a fashion person that was selling to high-end people. So I started attending. So I told the lady that, okay, whenever she's doing a fashion souks, right, or she's doing like a brunch meetups, I want to be there. I want to see how these rich madams in Lekki, how they think, what do they say, what are they looking for in things, right? Number one, talk to your audience, right? I've worked with like different brands, and one of the first things is you want to talk to your audience. Sometimes your audience can be your friend. So for Career Body, we do content for like African professionals. So every day I'm around my friends, we all work, right? They're sharing their struggles, they're sharing their pain points, they're sharing their expectations, and I get content ideas from those. That's number one. Number two, you like I said, I said it on this call that you must partner with the how can I put it, the department in your organization. And one of the departments that you cannot ignore is customer service. Customer service, as see, if you can collect all the content and all the complaints from customer service, you can create 1 year content strategy from it. But people ignore that, and you just go outside looking for what is not lost. In the team alone, your customer, your sales team, they are talking to people every day. They are selling things to people every day. You want to go meet them and ask them, what are people saying? Okay, so when you sell your content, what did they say? Sometimes when I was starting, right, I as a content associate at She Leads Africa, I used to join the sales, and even if that didn't really give me a lot of insights because our content was so very varied. So but I used to join the sales team call or the marketing team call just to hear what they are saying, and I was just a social media person, but I just wanted to know, right? Join the strategy calls. Don't put, like I said, I will keep saying, don't put yourself in a silo. That's what would distinguish you from the basics and those who are meant for great things. Don't say I'm just content or I'm just social media. That's not my business. Put your nose there, because you might just find gold where you don't expect it from. customer service, I do that a lot. Customer service complaints. Just go if you work on a product. Personally, for me now, I have access to backend of like customer service chats for career body, for maybe clients who are having issues and everything. I have access to that. Read it. If you are here and you're working for products directly, maybe a logistic company, or working for an app, or you plan to do so, or in the future, just know that you have a lot of content that you have not used and it's sitting with the customer service guys. All the complaints that are there, if you can download it, you would really see that, oh my God, you will even see the gaps that you have, that I actually have not been speaking to the pain point of my audience. So another place is you also want to look at the comments, right? So if you're already managing a page, look at the comments. What are they saying? Are they commenting? What kind of comments do they give? Your DMs, what kind of stuff do they give? So you have to be able to, in one way or the other, before you go for the vague things, before you check tools like, oh, Google Trends, Twitter, what are people saying? What are people's insights? Because it's human beings too that make up that data, right? You want to look at what people are saying. Then you also want to look at data. There's really no great content without data. You don't want to be fixed on your ideas. You hear a great content person is not somebody that says things like, me, I don't like TikTok, oh, so we're not going to post on TikTok. Or I'm not really that, I don't really like being on LinkedIn like that. So you're managing a page. And maybe what is good for that page is for that page to be on LinkedIn, or for that business to be on LinkedIn. But they are not on LinkedIn because you, as the content person, you have a personal bias for LinkedIn. So you have to take your personal bias away and be able to look at things from that wholesome, perspective, right? That's very, very important. Then you also want to, the last thing I will put, there are many ways, honestly, it's a long list, but I'm talking based on how I work. So the last thing I always do is look at competitors. And the reason I don't really look at competitors is because I feel like if you're able to understand your audience's pain points and you can sell excellently, you can commit yourself to creating content that consistently solves that thing, you will probably not really have a lot of issues with your competition. So for me, when I look at competition, it's more about, okay, what's one trendy thing they are doing that we can take and make better? Right? What's something that my competition is not really doing well with their content that I can do better? A lot of times, see, there's content in the world. There's nothing you really want to say that is new. Keep it at the back of your mind. And maybe that will give you some level of humility when you're creating, that there's really nothing that you're saying that is new. It's the fresh perspective that you bring that matters at the end of the day. Your originality. That is what matters at the end of the day, right? So you don't want to regurgitate. Regurgitating smells, it stinks. Imagine just regurgitating, you're eating and you're regurgitating. It smells. It's no longer like the fresh food, the fresh spoon of jollof rice you just ate. Imagine that you ate a spoon of jollof rice and then you're not feeling fine and you throw up. Are you going to go and take that food and eat it again? No, you're looking for fresh food, even if you're going to eat again when you feel better. That's content in a way. So you don't want to just take what people have done and just replicate it. No, you want to make it better. Things already exist. I tell everyone creating content, see, you don't have a lot, you have a lot to do in originality and giving your content identity and relatability. But in terms of that, okay, what do I create? There's a lot online. People are saying a lot. You just take it and make it better. You just take it and infuse it with your customers' pain points, infuse it with life, and you see things begin to change. So those are the ways. There are many ways, but those are the ways that I would recommend anybody who is just starting out to begin to try out, and they would definitely see results that way, much more better than just creating a generic audience persona. So that would be my response to that.
All right. Thank you so much for that answer. Are there any other questions? You can raise your hand or drop it in the chat box. All right. I guess that will be all for Oluwaseye section. Thank you so much, Oluwaseye, for such an impactful section on content creation. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for that.
All right, thank you so much, Terra team, and Darasimi. Everyone, thank you for joining and actually taking time out to just listen in. Do enjoy the rest of the day. Bye.
Thank you so much, Oluwaseye. Okay, and that's a wrap for Tech Rise Africa 2.0. I can't see our emoji. We're supposed to be excited. I mean, we've gone through series of sections. We've gone through. We've listened to speakers that go across different fields. Right. Thank you, everyone. So over the past 2 days, we've learned from some of the brightest minds in tech industry. Emmanuel Bassi took us through data analytics, told us that we learned that whether you're in the marketing field or you're in the content creation field, data is important. I mean, that's one of the things that Oluwaseye also emphasized on, that you have to know your audience, and that means you need data. So whether you're in a field of expertise, you'd have to bring data into whatever you're learning, right? And Awa Hamod took us through product management. It took us through the stages of product management, where we have the pre-development, we have the post-development, we have also the development stage, right? And those stages include product identification. I mean, before you start working on a product, you have to think on the problem you are solving. What problem am I solving with this product, right? So we learned all of that through the product management section. And we also had the software engineering section, which was taken by Adiniro. And by Adiniro had emphasized on continuous learning. I mean, whether you're a pro in product management, you're a pro in product design, you have to constantly learn. You have to constantly upskill, right? So and we also had sections today, right? We had sections on our first section was on product design, taken by Ayodeji or Shidele, right? He has told us his journey, how he was mentored, how he also was able to push himself, right? How he was able to build a portfolio that captivates his audience, right? So, and we also had section to on how to stay and grow on the job, which was taken by Ini Kiade. He had told us how career insights, right? While you're in your career, while you're on the job, you have to constantly remain relevant. You're not just there just to I want to get a salary. You have to constantly think of how you can upskill, how you can remain relevant in your field, right? And we also had the section taught by our amazing Latifat, right, on portfolio building, right? While you're building your portfolio, you're not just concentrating on the amount of projects you have to put on the portfolio. You have to think that you are putting the best projects, because I mean, now hiring managers do not just, they don't take 5 minutes on CV or looking through your portfolio. After 5 seconds, 8 seconds, they are done looking at it. So you have to make sure that whatever you're putting in your portfolio captivates captures the hiring manager attention, right? And we also had a section, our last section was taken by Oluwaseye on content creation. You have to make sure that your content builds confidence. You're not just putting out content based on okay, this is the product you are trying to market and all of that. You have to make sure that your content builds confidence. And she also emphasized that you have to work to with your team. You have to work with the marketing team, you have to work with the customer team. You're not just making sure that your product has to be in the faces of others. You have to make sure that what you are putting out, the content you are putting out, resonates with the effort that your team is also bringing in, right? So thank you all for joining, and we want to say a huge thank you to all our speakers for generously sharing their knowledge, their insights, their time with us. And to you, our amazing participants, thank you for joining in. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for engaging actively. Thank you for staying till the end. We really, really appreciate it. And as we conclude, right, we would also drop a form on the chat box where you get to fill in, you let us know your feedback, what we need to do better, who we need to bring in for the next event, right? We'll gladly appreciate your feedback, right? So as we conclude the event, I really want to encourage us to take action on everything that you've learned, right? You're not just here to just fill in the space. You are here to learn. You are here to network. You are here to grow in your career. So I want us to take action on everything that we've learned, right? I said earlier that we have beginners courses for people intending to go into product design, product management, content creation, digital marketing. We also have on web development, right? So visit terrahq.co to start learning. And if you've already started a course, continue learning. You have to continue to grow and learn in your tech journey, right? So don't stop here. Let us share what we've learned on social media. Let people on social media know what you've learned. Let's network with each other. Let's connect with each other on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great platform if you really do know how to use it well, right? You can network with our speakers. You can network with each other. You can send a DM whenever you need a mentorship or an insight on something, right? So let's network with each other. Let's share our LinkedIn profile on the chat box, and let's also spread the word about Tech Rise Africa, right? So I look forward to seeing uh I look forward to seeing our post on LinkedIn, on social media. You can use the hashtag Tech Rise Africa, right? Thank you all for making this event a success, right? Remember that the future of tech in Africa is bright and you are a part of that future. Let's continue to upskill in our areas, right? Have a great day, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you all rise and shine in your tech careers. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.